Shandy is not crying all these years later, over a decade later, because she cheated on a boyfriend. That was so frustrating and above all sad to watch, because even now, as the we'll say orchestrators talked about it, I'm talking about Tyra, I'm talking about Ken primarily, those two, they're passing the blame, they're passing the buck. Tyra's like, oh, I had nothing to do with, like, what you say, I had nothing to do with story, like that was production. But it's like, but you were part of production. I don't remember if at that point, cycle 2, if she had her executive producer title, but Tyra was very involved from the very beginning. This is her show. This wasn't a case of like she pitched the show and then lost control of it. No, like she was partner with Ken. Also, let me issue a retraction. Someone corrected me, thankfully. Tyra has nothing to do with producing this documentary. I think I got confused when I saw her labeled as an executive producer. It was talking about for America's Next Top Model. I somehow misread and thought that meant for this show. Anyways, so like she, didn't produce this, didn't have anything to do with putting it together aside from being an interviewee. Where was I? I think I was in the now. Ken even was like, oh, we could have shown so much more. And Jay's talking about like, oh, well, the nipple gate happened with the Super Bowl, and so that changed what we could show. And Ken and Tyra, it's as if they wanted some credit for not showing as much as they could have, for not showing as much as they recorded of that girl being sexually assaulted. Okay, so let's flash back to then. The fact that it's layers of sadness, because Shandy gets sexually assaulted, and it's a combination of the girls who are around her, the show cameramen, camera people, and the producers, and her upbringing, because Shandy herself, through what we saw, jumped to, I need to talk to Eric, I need to talk to my boyfriend, I need to confess what I did. But I think there was a part of her that knew that because she knew she didn't have the memories. She knew she was waking up in strange places. She said in the present that like she knew sex was happening, but she couldn't feel it. Like she didn't feel that she was participating. And it's disgusting that they changed the narrative, took control of the narrative, so that instead of like Shandy had something happen to her, the narrative was Shandy did something. And Shandy herself, I think because of her upbringing, you can't tell me her being from wherever she's from, wasn't raised in a rape apologist culture, right? So I think her upbringing, her conditioning had her thinking of her relationship first and her boyfriend first, as opposed to, I have been hurt, I have been violated. She's probably like took responsibility and the blame for drinking too much and for even being in the hot tub, blah, blah, blah. It's sad. It's very, very sad. And it's extra sad and just still exploitive to this day, the way that Ken and Tyra talk about what happened. Like, Tyra has that concerned look on her face. And yes, I've seen people talk about her and her trench coat. Her and that, I don't know why she didn't. It's giving like she had somewhere else to be and she like blocked out like 1 hour or whatever to do this, but like she's got somewhere else to be. And so she's not going to get comfortable or whatever. Anyways, very sad, very like infuriating the way that it's talked about, the way they talked about it to this day. I feel so bad for Shandy because I don't know, I kind of feel like even now she was talking about it, but like she didn't, I mean, she named it as much as she could, but I don't know, like at the end she says, it made for good TV, which I feel like, I mean, I'm armchair, armchair psychologist, but it's as if like she still can't quite be vulnerable about what that did to her, because she knows she's like, we're talking about America's Next Top Model and what her experience was. She's still like surrounded by vultures and vampires, right? Energy vampires. This episode was basically like America's Next Top Model is the most vicious circle of hell. The things that those girls went through. I was a regular, watched every episode for cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3. After cycle 3, I was in and out. I don't believe I ever watched another cycle. So I stopped being super dedicated early. I don't remember why. Like, I was 13 when it started, so I probably moved on, or I wasn't seeing the models that they were talking, like, you're supposed to become a top model. I wasn't quite seeing that. Like, I know Adrian Curry went the reality show circuit, but not quite the big successes. But what the photo shoots became, and them exploiting the information that they learned about these girls through the application process is dark-sided. It's dark-sided. I also feel for, I can easily picture their, and I'm talking about production, Tyra, your Ken, your Dawn Ostrov. Dawn saying yeah, no, I never once thought we were going too far. I was like, yeah, true network executive. Also, Tyra saying you all wanted it. No, the network wanted it. That's what y'all said first. The network wanted to go farther. They wanted it to be more intense because they wanted the ratings, because they wanted the money, those advertising dollars. The network wanted more and more. Yes, people tuned in, but it came from the top first, okay? Don't play with us. We went from them shaving Ebony's hair and adding extensions to girls' heads to ripping people's teeth out in a few cycles, closing gaps, widening. The about face that Tyra did between wanting to get rid of the black girl's gap to all of a sudden when it came to the white girl, she had a reference about, a reference for the beauty of the gap. Did the modeling agents change their tune? Is that why she changed her tune? She did say that she apologized to both of the women. That woman who had the teeth surgeries, talking about the dental surgeries, talking about how she has permanent damage. Yes, she got rid of the snaggle tooth, which she had wanted to, and I do remember, I think I remember her season. It might have been one of the ones I tuned in for. But also she has permanent damage that things that they didn't fix, and I guess cascading stuff that will never be fixed. And that's the trade-off. And then we had Kenya experiencing sexual harassment in front of everybody. Which, of course, because if they didn't do anything about Shandy and what happened to her, no way were they going to come to Kenya's rescue. And Tyra talking about, this was the best way I knew how to be empowering. So here's the thing, right? First of all, I think Nigel is the only one who gives me, I'm for real cringing when I hear myself. Yes, he does the whole, it was the times. But you see him physically, closing his eyes, ooh. Or, shaking his head at some of the things that were coming out of his mouth. And I'm sure he believed it. But I think, looking now, he sees it from the side of the girls. I don't think that's the case for Tyra. I barely think that's the case for Jay. I'm also not hearing enough from Miss J. But here's the thing, right? It was the times. It was the time. It's how it was at the time. But Kenya, as well as the curvy white woman, as well as Takara, you had some people who spoke up. And that's what I always think when people say, it was the times. It's just how it was. No, you did have some people who spoke up, even though they were scared, even though they were nervous, even though it could cost them their opportunity. And that goes for anything, top model, whatever. Whatever the popular thought was at the time, whatever the convention was at the time, you always had people who would speak up and say this isn't right, I don't feel right, this is hurting me. And then you just have people speak over them. So it wasn't you were upholding the times, you were insisting on the times. Little rant, but that, it'd be BS. Yes, it was the times, but also there were people spoke up and they were ignored and they were made to feel bad. And, with this show, literally told, if you want this bad enough, you will let me play with your body. You will let me mess with your body, your gap, all that stuff.